black community and you are racist, you need to be ashamed of yourself. You stood up there and took an oath. If this is not where you want to work at, then you need to take your behind somewhere else. I decided to work in the African American community because I'm African American and I wanted to make a difference. I'm a double minority. They would have got 2 hits from me because I'm African American and I'm a female. I'm here because I wanted to make a difference. But how dare you stand next to me in the same uniform and murder somebody? How dare you? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. So why don't we just keep it real? If you're that officer, then know good and well you got a God complex. You're afraid of people that don't look like you. You have no business in that uniform. Take it off. If you're afraid to go and talk to an African-American female or a male or a Mexican male or female because they're not white like you, take the uniform off. You have no business being a police officer. Because there's many of us that will give our life for anybody. And we took this oath and we meant it. If you are that officer that's prejudiced, take the uniform off and put the KKK hoodie on. Because I will not stand for that. If you're an officer that works with me and you're wrong, I will tell you you're wrong. My heart goes out to that young man's family because if it was my son, I don't know what I would do. I am my brother and my sister's keeper. That's why I'm going to keep this uniform on. Because today I wanted to quit when I saw that video. But I need for y'all to support the ones of us that are right. And I need for you to stand for those of us that are not right.
Folks, Nakia Jones worked for the Warrensville Heights Police Department. She was later fired, basically for violating the sick leave policy. Joining us right now is her attorney, Ben Crump, as well as Nakia Jones. Glad to have both of you here. First and foremost, Nakia, I want to go to you. It's been 2 years since you were fired. Your husband is also a police officer. Is the police union, are they standing behind you?
My union attorney is representing me. Unfortunately, our union guys are, I think, honestly, they're afraid of retaliation. So they're not doing everything they could do for me. It's almost like I'm out on a limb. And just to let you know, Mr. Martin, it'll be a year, October 20th. I got fired last year, October 20th.
And, I mean, so they're saying you violated a sick leave policy. What are they talking about?
They're saying that I got into a car accident May 28th. I ended up being diagnosed with a concussion and a post-concussion syndrome. The department tried to force me back to work against doctor's orders. And when I did not return, they knew that I had been invited to do a church gathering speaking engagement. This was a year prior. They went on my Facebook page, saw the flyer, and decided we're going to order her back to work. I don't care what the doctors say. And when they tried to do that and I didn't, they said I violated sick leave policy, but I was out on workers' comp. I'm still out on workers' comp.
I want to go to Ben Crump, your attorney. Ben, of course, there's an arbitration that's taking place, but you guys don't want to do that. You want this to go to court, correct?
Absolutely. The arbitration that is precipitated by the police policy with the union is very slanted for the police, Roland. And this ultimately is a First Amendment freedom of speech issue. Nakia went on her personal Facebook page and she made this to her personal friends, 400 of them. Somehow they shared it with others and it got seen, I think now by 10 million people, because you see her heart in that video, all the passion rolling. And we keep saying, especially in the black community, where are the good police officers when they see these injustices? Why aren't they saying anything? Well, Nakia, she spoke up. She's a good police officer. And when her son said, "Mama, why are you all killing us?" that hit a chord with her heart. And she made that passionate plea, Roland, and for that, they terminated her, and we have evidence that they conspired to terminate her. This sick leave dismissal is just a pretextual reason to try to say, we're going to shut you up. I dare you speak against the blue line. And that's what this is, and it's so interesting. You were talking about Laquan McDonough in the earlier piece, because those 13 officers, they lied, Roland, and we see that based on the video. And now when Nakia tells the truth, she is fired immediately. Anita Alvarez, it was over a year before they even released the video of Laquan McDonald saying they're still investigating. So what this ultimately comes down to, Roland, is we have to support good police officers, good brothers and sisters who are in uniform, who take a stand against the obvious injustice. And if you look at the video for Alton Sterling, and the police officer says, "I'm going to kill you, you black," and then a minute later he kills him, Nakia is absolutely right. That is murder. And our silence is betrayal, no matter if you're a police officer or you're anybody in the community. And that's what this is about, trying to silence us.
Nakia, do you regret making that video?
No, not at all. And I actually talked to Cameron, Alton Sterling's son. I reached out, found out where he was, a friend of mine. So me and Cameron talk all the time. And every time he talks to me, he keeps saying, "Auntie, thank you for not letting them forget about my father."
Ben Crump, do you believe that obviously this is retaliation on the part of the police department? You alluded to that earlier. And then you talked about the making of this video. Do you believe that this sends a chilling effect, creates a chilling effect for other officers out there who might want to say something? Pretty much what's happening here is saying, no, beware, we will come after you.
Absolutely, Roland. And for everybody who's listening to Unfiltered today, we have to stand behind Nakia, but also we have to stand behind the Constitution. She has a First Amendment freedom of speech. They had no social media policy. This is a direct violation of her constitutional rights, saying that you black policewoman cannot express yourself. And if you do, this is what's going to happen to you. And this is more of a message for others, I believe, Roland. And that's why we have to be ready to take this matter to the Ohio Supreme Court if they refuse to let us not have any recourse other than this arbitration. And we have to be willing to go all the way to the United States Supreme Court, because never has there been a more critical time in America for women to have their right to be heard. And thank you so much, Roland, for getting this out, because mainstream media don't want to talk about Nakia having her First Amendment rights to free speech. We are talking about all the Me Too stuff, but Nakia is part of the Me Too as well. She has a right to express herself as a woman, as a mother, as a person who cares about her community. And that's why we have to take this all the way up.
Nakia, you also were invited to the White House to meet with President Barack Obama. Do you believe that that also is a factor in terms of your firing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that a lot of the men felt a certain way. They already felt like she got all this attention. Who does she think she is? And then when I got the invite to the White House, especially after the arbitration hearing everything, they didn't even want me to go to arbitration. And the sad thing is, in my honest opinion, my chief or my mayor didn't want me to go.
And they hold one second, Ben, and they told you not to go?
They actually, when I called and asked to go, my chief gave me the runaround. He said, I need everybody's information so I can check it out. I gave it to him. I didn't get a call back. My cousin knows the mayor personally. He called the mayor about 8 o'clock at night, and the mayor was like, oh, yeah, she can go. But I believe in the beginning, like they said, they both said thumbs down because they could not prove that I got the invite, which is not true.
Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, Roland, I was going to say, also, she got threatened. Her fellow officers said that she deserves a bullet to the back of her head for making that video.
One second, Ben. When you say that, was that verbal? Was that written? Was that on a voicemail? Was it an email? Was it a social media? Where was that comment made?
It was made throughout our police department, and actually it got so bad where some of the community heard about it, but it was on a little piece of paper in my mailbox that said, BITCH, you need a bullet to the back of your head. When I saw it, I just looked at it and was like, I can't believe this. In our roll call room, the only people that have access to our roll call room is police officers or the chief or something like that. You regular people can't go back. Then I got a letter that told me I was responsible for the 11 officers' death in Dallas, and I need to go get my Black Panther Party card. Then I got a real derogatory letter that they kept saying it's from a black officer telling me to go get back on welfare, go back to East Cleveland and dance in the street with the cooties, told me I was disgraced. It just was really ugly.
Ben, go ahead.
And Roland, when they made those threats to her, what was really outrageous is her police department did not even investigate those threats.
Wait, 1 second. 1 second, Ben. You're saying that with all the things that she just said, the police department, those threats made against a police officer, there was no investigation whatsoever?
None whatsoever. In fact, the chief response has been to tell her and her supporters that they should have been more responsible. So why shouldn't Nakaya have been more responsible in making a video that was private and answering the question for her children? That's the only response she has gotten. And Roland, that goes against all their policy when there is a threat made to a police officer. As many times as you and I, Roland, have been all across America, when they kill black and brown boys, they say it's because officer safety and they felt threatened. Now, what's more threatening than getting a note in your locker saying that word, you deserve a bullet to the back of your head?
Certainly tragic there. Nakaya Jones, Ben Crump, we certainly appreciate it. Ben, when is the hearing this week?
The hearing is actually on the 22nd, and then we're trying to go to court. And we don't want to file a decision on the arbitration because we kind of know what they're going to do. They always do that, Roland. And before we leave, Roland Martin, I want to thank you so very much, brother, for bringing Unfiltered to Dallas, Texas, in the matter of Botham Jean. I mean, you really helped that community have a sense of empowerment. And you're an institution, I've told you before, Roland, but you just being there in person with Unfiltered meant so much for getting justice for Botham Jean.
Well, I truly appreciate it. Thank you very much. And to the folks out there, we did live stream that community forum that took place on Saturday in Dallas. You can actually go to our YouTube channel. You can actually watch the entire forum, the whole 2-hour forum. It's available on all of our channels, YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. Nakaya Jones, thank you so very much. Ben Crump, thanks so much.
Thank you, sir, for having us.
All right, let's go right to our panel. We got Kim Playchick, Executive Director of Potential Me, Joe Madison, host of the Joe Madison Show on Sirius XM Radio, also known as The Black Eagle, and Lauren Victoria Burke, writer for the National Newspaper Publishers Association. Glad to have all of you here. Let's first talk about the Nakaya Jones case. Again, Lauren, I want to start with you. Your family, law enforcement, folks in your family as well, and you trying to convince me that she gets fired because of a sick leave policy?
Yeah, it's unbelievable to think about all the police cases and the shootings that we've seen. Obviously, so many of them on video, and then this woman, I think actually for what she verbally said on Facebook, I don't think it has anything to do with sick leave policy. All of my relatives who've been in law enforcement, it's very difficult, obviously, given the union, particularly in New York, to get any of them off the job. If you see the case of Dan Pantaleo, who choked Eric Garner to death.
Who killed Eric Garner?
Right.
It's been 4 years.
On video.
He is still.
And he has got
working.
a desk job with making more money, actually. He has actually been protesting to get his job back. And so someone is dead. Someone is dead, and that's a police officer who is still on the job. So it's a pretty amazing thing to see somebody lose their job over really nothing, an administrative situation.
And Joe, they're going after her pension.
Right.
And they're going after her entire career. And what you should also add to this discussion is that what tends to happen is that officers will go from a situation like you just described and what Crump just described, and they'll go down the road and get another job.
Right.
Especially in a little town like Ohio. I sat there just amazed, and when I read in prepping for this segment, I mean, all you have to do is go to the first 2 paragraphs, and you know this is a First Amendment case.
The cop who killed Tamir Rice
had actually come from down the road and got hired in Cleveland.
Got hired in Cleveland.
That's right, exactly.
Where she works is in Cuyahoga County.
Yeah, right.
No neighboring police department will hire her.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And we know that these officers, if they shoot a young black man, the reality is, I don't care anywhere in the United States, their names don't get into a file,
right.
And they end up going and working somewhere else. This is just absolutely outrageous, because you have done this, I have done this. We have always asked black officers to stand up and speak out.
Right.
And she did just that. What they didn't like was the Maxine approach, and I mean Maxine Waters. She just didn't take any prisoners.
They also didn't like the fact, Kimberly, that this thing blew up, that it went viral all across the country.
Yes.
It captured the imagination. It was shown on cable news networks, on local stations. It was shared all over the place. And to get an invite from the President of the United States,
right.
All of that. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I think, clearly played a role in them saying, no, sister, we're going to put you in your place.
That's exactly what happened. And I wondered, and that was my question, were they taking her out because of the sick leave policy? I doubt they have any policy that says, because you post on social media, we can take your job from you.
Well, no, they did try to argue with social media, but as Crump said, they said, but y'all don't have a social media policy.
Didn't have one.
There's no way that they do. And so it's really sad, too. I learned a lot just listening to her today. I didn't realize that the notes were actually coming from someone in the police department, and then they decided not even to investigate it. That's huge. And I have to also point out, I don't believe Attorney Crump is actually on this case officially. He is reaching out and doing this like pro bono. Because
No, he's on it. So he's going to actually be, he's actually presenting the arguments. He's involved in the actual arbitration hearing. But they wanted to actually go to the court system. They don't want to. They don't want to be. So he's involved with it. They don't want to involve. They don't want to be just in the arbitration. They want to be in the court system where you have discovery, where it's public.
And can we bring up something else too? And don't let this go by. The union is not helping her. Any other time, the union...
She's a union lawyer, but in terms of a union apparatus.
Look, the apparatus, as you say, you're absolutely right. They gather around, they meet in someone's lower level in a house, and they start, here's what you need to say, here's how you say. That union is not helping her, and I bet you she's paying union dues.
But here's the deal. Where are the Blue Lives Matter people? Where are the folks who love touting cops? You would think there would be. I really want to see, especially where the conservatives in this area, because again, this was a woman who was talking about the importance of the uniform, the importance of cops in communities. Where are they? It's amazing how they'll rally around the cops when in Cleveland they said we're going to pull the cops off the field because the players were kneeling or demonstrating issue police brutality. But I don't see them rallying around her. It's amazing how they're very quiet.
They're not going to do it.
It's always different. Yeah. It's like with the NRA when someone black, uses a gun lawfully, registered, etc. And the NRA doesn't say anything. The calculus is always different, as you can see.
And so the challenge, reality is they're not going to do it. It's a great rhetorical question. We know they're not going to do it. So the real challenge should be, our organization, our apparatus, our sororities, our fraternities, the African American police organizations, and there's several of them out there. They need to do what we're challenging other people to do.
And it was very surprising. I don't know if anyone's watched the video in its entirety, but her message was about unity. It wasn't even really about, yes, she talked about those cops that could be racist that are putting the uniform on, but if you watch the whole thing, she's talking about unity and having mentors come in for juveniles that are maybe going down the wrong path. That's what the message was really about.
But the problem, though, is they don't like the fact that she dared to tell them, get the hell off of the forces and take the uniform off. And that's the fundamental problem here. The problem here, again, with people who are the likes of Sean Hannity and Fox News and these radio talk show hosts who are conservative, is they don't want to call out these thug cops. They don't want to say jack about the cops in Chicago with Kwame Donald, who erased that video at Burger King. They don't want to say anything about how he lied by saying Kwame Donald was charging him when in fact he was actually running away from him. See, they don't want to call him out. See, they don't want to rise to their defense You know, when you heard Megan Kelly say, "Oh, hands up, don't shoot," that was all a lie. Okay, but you don't hear jack about Terrence Crutcher, who had his hands up, who was walking slowly, yet he's still end up dead. And that to me shows the hypocrisy, because what it speaks to is they want to say, we're going to protect you at all costs. We're going to say, oh, a few bad apples, but they don't want to own up to the racists and the bigots who are there and to call them out as well.
Fox News is always trying to racialize everything and make everything black against white and make it a right against wrong argument.
Oh, hell yes.
And they do it policing and Justin all the time.
No. I don't think you can even remotely compare the two, because again, when you have Tucker Carlson going on every night basically caping white nationalists, and all of a sudden you aggrieve white men as if, oh my God, they've been so hurt by what's happening in America. No, that's the game here. And all of a sudden you finally are having these white columnists who are finally waking the hell up about this white male privilege, which we've been saying for so long.
Let's not forget, I'm sorry to interrupt, let's not forget what you really said. They ignore it. And there's an old adage, that which you ignore, you empower. And that's exactly why they're ignoring it, because it really empowers these racist officers.
Show me how much coverage Fox News is doing on the Jason Van Dyke trial.
None.
Show me.
The breaking point for them really was Walter Scott, because the Walter Scott shooting was an absolutely in cold blood, in the back shooting, and even like Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott had to come out and admit that this was a shocking event, and even Fox News went stone silent on that, and that was one of the most sort of obvious examples of just an unjust police shooting on tape.
You know, I mean, we can analyze Fox News all day long and all night long. You know, they should just take away the word news.
Right.
Fox News has and always has been propaganda. They were created for the purpose of propaganda. Excuse me, I knew Roger Ailes. You know, I know what they attempted to do when they put it together. Now we're how many years, a couple of decades ahead.
Right.
But their whole job was to have a network that went to the other side of the political policy debate, and that's what they designed themselves.
And let me show you. So I just went to foxnews.com and I typed in the Kwame. No. I want you to. I'm going to read you. Matter of fact, do me a favor. Bring me the. I need the H.
Let me tell you something. You see how they do us? What about the women right march? Why they ain't marching for this black lady? Why they not coming out? Because it's not for us. It's for them. They the one feel like they need the move ahead. They're not talking about black women. Why come we don't have stuff like that? Why come? Well, we really don't need it because we Hebrew. And sooner or later, our Father coming back and get us. So we're gonna let them fight over them dog scraps. Because we gonna walk on them one day, and they gonna all know us. Tell me what you think about it. Leave a comment.